All right, guys. I know. We are closing in on episode 3 of P101. And the person who's going to come up and do the last part of teaching engagement, listen, everybody knows who this guy is. Everybody in this room at some point has been in some level of relationship with him and has been influenced by him. There's one thing we know is that Titus Barlotta is an influencer in our community, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Because Titus cares. Titus wants what's best for you, and he's willing to bring a program to you that is going to catapult you when you leave here. And so if everybody will clap as I introduce Titus Barlotta to the stage. Thank you very much.
Hey, so thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you, Christy. So I have a worksheet that I'm going to go over with you. This is my only engagement project for the whole program. So I'm really excited to do this with you. Before I get into it, though, I wonder if anybody would indulge me. I wanted to share something with you guys about my life. Could I tell you a story real quick? Yes. Cool. So there are 5 people on the planet that know this story. And this is the first time I've ever talked to a crowd about it. And I think that it applies in this section of relationships and influence. So I want to talk to you guys about why I try to be the person that Christy just mentioned, why I want to be this person that cares, why I want to be an influencer in your life. So I grew up in New York City, and I've lived the majority of my life here in the Carolinas, but I'm originally from New York, and at one point we lived in this place called Middletown. Any New Yorkers in the room? You ever heard of Middletown? There you go. We lived in this place called Middletown, and I was 5 years old at the time, and we were able to live in a space inside of someone else's home at the time. I grew up and dealt with some poverty and some challenges, and many of you have heard that story, and I'm not here to tell you that story, but we lived in this community, and it wasn't a bad community. It was a pretty good community. But we lived in a space in someone else's home, and they were nice enough to give us a space. Every kid in this particular neighborhood had, like every toy ever made. These were families that were well off. And to be somebody that doesn't have resources in a space where everyone has resources may be more challenging than when you have nothing and you're around a bunch of other people that have nothing. But I wanted to tell you that there was this group of kids. They were all really cool and friendly with each other. And they would tell me to come downstairs and play with them. And I always would get so excited because I wanted to be liked. Anybody else want to be liked? I mean, just about every day of my life, I'm hoping that the person next to me doesn't hate me. I'm being pretty vulnerable with you guys right now. But I would always get excited, and they would tell me to go upstairs, and I had this little plastic fireman hat, and I used it as like a bucket. And they'd say, go get all your toys, bring them down. We're all going to play in the street. We're going to do Matchbox cars and action figures. And I would always get excited, and I would always run up the stairs, and I would always get whatever toys that I had at the time. And I'd put them on this little fireman hat, and I'd go downstairs. And I'd go out in the street, and I'd try to find the kids. And what happened was, every time, I just never learned, but every time that they told me to go do that, they all scattered and played hide and seek without talking to me about it first. And so when I went outside, they were all in bushes, and I could hear them snickering and laughing. It was every time. Because I always just thought that, I thought they might be better next time. You know what I mean? Just kind of believe the best in people. But I would go downstairs, and I would call out their names, and in some cases, I would beg them to quit playing, to quit being mean. There were times that I just cried in an open street asking these kids to quit being so darn mean to me. I just wanted to play with them so bad, man. And I wanted to show them that I had some toys too. It wasn't as good as their toys, but I could contribute, you know what I mean? And I'm not too bad. I mean, I'd make you laugh. I'd do whatever I could to make you like me. And I begged for their attention. Now, my mom, who's 4'2", didn't really care for these kids. She would tell me sometimes, son, she would say, just don't do that next time. And I remember telling my mom, but maybe next time they'll be better. Maybe next time they'll make a better choice. Maybe they won't hurt my feelings. Maybe they won't make me the fool, the butt of their joke. It's worth investing the tears because maybe next time they'll be better. That was always my mindset at 5 years old. It changed my world to know that humans would be that way. I just didn't think that was an option on the multiple choice. You know what I mean? I didn't think that somebody would have all these choices and they would pick that one as one of the ways that they wanted to build relationships and influence other people's lives. I didn't think that was one of the ones. But that was my experience as a child. How many people know that that experience could totally screw up the rest of your life? I fight every single day to make that not the narrative of my story. Every day. So I want to fast forward a little bit before I get into this. And again, I wanted to share this, and you said I could, so thank you. I'd like to say that I was perfect. That was the desire of my heart, and I was awfully close to being able to trust and love people freely. The Word of God says to offer your blessing and relationship to somebody freely. You don't charge them a fee for it. And I tried to do that. Later on in life, we moved to the Carolinas, and I was in high school at the time. And I was a freshman, and I bumped into this guy who was a senior. Anybody ever have a friend that's older and they get a car before you do? You know, they like have a job before you do, and then your parents don't like that person so much because they basically make you kind of speed up the growing up process. Mom, I want to go hang out with this guy. This is my best friend. He's going to pick me up from school. You don't have to worry about it. I had one of those friends. My mom didn't like this particular individual. We both shared the fact that we were from single parent homes. We both just had moms. We related on so many different levels. We loved God. It's probably true that this was my first best friend. And one day my mom got so angry that she thought he was a bad influence on me because we stayed out late. He'd drive fast. And she said, no more. You can't hang out with this guy ever again. I don't like him anymore. And I told him that, and I said, I can't be your friend anymore. My mom says that you make me stay out late, and you don't drive the speed limit, and you have a cell phone, you know. She didn't know how to tell me that we couldn't afford for me to have a cell phone, and all I wanted was everything that this senior in high school had. So when I told him that we couldn't be friends anymore, it broke my heart, you know what I mean? And he said to me, he was almost a father figure because of his age difference, you know? He kind of was like, well, I already did that, and here's what I learned. And nobody in my life had ever done that for me up to this point. When I told him that we couldn't be friends anymore, he looked at me and he said, nope, I do not accept that. And I remember going, have you met my mom? She's a prize fighter, my mom, man. She's got little knuckles, but they're like, where's Jesse Mullen? They're like, boy, don't you? I mean, my mom was a prize fighter, and she would have these rings, and oh, it was scary. And he said, I don't accept that. And I said, well, you don't have a choice. It's not up for debate. And he goes, I want to go talk to her. I said, you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. I said, this woman has all the influence in the world. It's called the backhand of her right hand. I mean, and he said, let me go talk to her. And he said to me, let me see if I can influence her. I don't know that I'd ever heard anybody use the word. I was 15 years old. I can't remember somebody coming up to me going, influence, in any capacity of the term. Now, he got in front of my mom and he said to her, he said, I promise you, I'll never hurt your son. And he looked at her while I was saying it, and He teaches me things. He makes me laugh. He's the best human I've ever met. He's like a brother to me. I love your son. I'll never hurt him. I'll never let him down, and I'll always respect you, Mrs. Bartolotta. I don't know that I'd ever had a friend say that they loved me before. Today he's got a beautiful wife. He's got 4 children. We still stay connected. That man has an influence over my life since that day. I wanted to share with you that you never know the things that you do and say, the kind of impact and influence that they will hold. My entire life, I've always wanted to make that guy proud because he looked at my mom one day and he said, I will honor and take care of this person. That's my friend. I'll never hurt and abuse that relationship. I didn't have enough toys to put into my fire hat, and I didn't have enough time or wisdom or experience when I was 5 to teach those little kids that they could be like the guy later on in my life. But I got to see both spectrums of influence. And I always want to influence people in a way that positively impacts their world. Now I want to do an engagement with you. Thanks for letting me share the story. I put a sheet of paper in front of you. In fact, I put 2 of them. I used a stapler. In case you were wondering how they are so closely with each other, thank you very much for that. Here's what I want to talk to you about. I want to get you moving and engaging. You have a piece of paper. I'm going to do some reading because remember, we're also doing some recording, right? So people are going to hear this later. I want them to hear it in case they weren't lucky enough to be in the room. So here we go. Influence refers to the ability to have an effect on another person, situation, and or outcome of a moment. You must effectively and positively influence, you most effectively and positively influence when you do it without what? Telling, bullying, or forcing. Your social, communication, and leadership skills are key components to consider when hoping to effectively demonstrate lasting influence. If you can interact with others in a successful way, you are more likely to be able to influence them. Listening and observing skills also help you influence others and does your good judgment. You should be able to gauge any information available, judge what is important, and successfully communicate your assignment to others. Does that make sense? Does that sound like influence in a couple sentences? Does that reinforce what we just learned from Dave and from Christy? Yes. I think so. They taught us how to gain influence, how to get influence, yes? How to become a person of influence. I want to give you a few quick tips before we turn the page and you guys do something fun with each other. I want to give you some ways that you can increase it. They helped us get it. Now, once you get it, how do you have more of it, yeah? I never want to just be like the bottom level of communicator or leader. So I want you to learn there are a few ways that you can increase your influence. You can do it through nurture. There's no question that buddy of mine nurtured that relationship, yeah? You can do it through faith. Have faith in somebody. Show them that you believe in them. Amazing influence when you tell somebody, you're going to handle this, and they go, I don't know if I can do it. I'm not sure. And they go, I trust you. You can take the breath out of somebody's chest when you tell them, I know you got my back. You can listen. Here's what that looks like. Look at the person. Ask questions. Don't interrupt. Don't change the subject. Show emotion. Responsive listening in total. You can influence. You can increase it once you have it when you do that. Understand somebody. Enlarges is really talking about when you're able to invest in someone's world when something's important to them and you help make it bigger. When somebody goes, this is important, and you go, hey, let me help you increase that, right? Let me help you increase the thing that matters to you. Massive influence when you do that for somebody. Connect with them, empower them, and then reproduce. When they make something that they love and it's wonderful and you help them have a second and a third and a fourth one, you'll increase your influence. Does that make sense? Do you think if you did those things and you kind of put sticky notes around your house and those words were always somewhere near your vision, that you might be able to do something? Since Dave and Christy taught us how to have influence, you think maybe this might help you increase it? I'm glad to hear it, because now you're going to need to use it. Yeah. So for the next page, if you'll turn with me, I am going to ask each table to work together. Now, you may have 2 people, you may have 5 people at your table. We have a fairly full room, so I think you're going to have a full team. But you are going to do this with your table. and I'm happy to set the scene and stage for you. I want you to assume that you're in a yacht that's lost at sea and sinking. How's that for the very first sentence of your story, yeah? You and the crew have you've just fought off a fire that destroyed the yacht's navigation equipment. And because of this, no one knows the yacht's exact location. The yacht still contains 5 items not destroyed by the fire. Here's what those items are: a shaving mirror, a case of bottled water, maps, nylon rope, and a flare gun. Now, your group, your crew, this is everyone at the table, is tasked with ranking the items in the order of most importance to the crew's survival. This exercise also calls for each team member to come up with an additional 5 items that survived in this particular fire. You must now create a list of 10 items in order of importance, with 1 being the most important. Now, this is the most important to the crew's survival, of course. Each of you must present your list to the full team and influence others to see your list as the most correct list of items and in the best ranking. You may be influenced by others, and ultimately, you should determine the best list and strongest ranking of items, even if it's not your list. Be honest. When somebody has a better item, do not tell them that they're wrong just because you want to be right, yeah? That's not how influence works. You should be ready to communicate your rationale to the group and overcome any objections possible. You'll notice there's a spot there with 10 items to list out. Do you see that? So what we're going to do is we are going to give you about 2 to 3 minutes, for not in your team yet, just on yourself. I want you to come up with your list of 10. You're going to have 2 or 3 minutes. Remember, 5 of your 10 items are already listed, yeah? But you're going to put these in the ranking of most important. So think before you start filling out the 5 already on there, because one of your items might be more important than one of those. Does that make sense? If so, say yeah. Yeah. So you've got 2-3 minutes. Get to it. Remember, guys, you got to make sure you get out of this alive, yeah? You're not just picking items for your survival, you're picking items for the survival of your crew. Make sure these are good. I didn't say this, but please make sure that you don't pick a rescue boat as one of your items. My wife made sure that to tell people not to just be like, there's another boat that I'm taking. Remember, this is something that survived in the fire. Something that survived in the fire. That might have messed some of you guys up, and I love it. I love that some of you are like, holy crap, I've got to start over. Assuming we're going to stay on the boat, give me some smaller items, okay? But the boat is sinking. I got you. Bear with me. You're going to love this, and I appreciate you. Perhaps you might be able to stop it from sinking. Who knows? 2 minutes. One minute. No pressure, just good chance you might die. 1 minute. only having to come up with 5 new items. Probably more of this time is spent on ranking them. Yes, sir. Shortly, you're going to show everyone else at your table your total 10 items, and you're going to show them the ranking. And listen, if for some reason you are 1 or 2 items short, this exercise is going to still be wonderful because we're learning what it is to be creative and come up with items and influence the people to our right and left of why those items might be useful, yeah? Be focused on what the end goal is from the exercise, and do not allow a perfection gap within yourself to stop you from enjoying the exercise because maybe you came up with 1 short of 10. We'll give you 1 more minute since I see people sweating more than me, which is a lot. "30 seconds. Real 30 seconds this time. I got you on the clock. I'm looking at it count down. 10 items in total, to the best of your ability to rank them. You're going to have to defend those items and those rankings here in just a moment. The people in your crew might be ruthless. They might think you're out of your mind. But I believe in you. I think you can pull it off. There's only everything riding on this. And 1 second, and that is your time. There you go. So pencils and pens down. So you have just created a list of 10 items. You've ranked them to the best of your ability. And now what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for everyone at your table to get a full 60 seconds to the best of your ability, right? Somebody might be 55 seconds. They might be a little over a minute. But I'd like for each person to be able to present their list and their rationale to everyone else. So if you guys could find a way to huddle up with each other, and I understand that it may not be the most conducive, but I'm going to give everybody 5 to 6 minutes to do this right now. Thank you. However you want to do it. Yep. So you're going to do it with people just at your table. Just at your table. So Greg is going to go down there. Just at your table. You can go anywhere you want in the room, but it's just with the people in your group. Was that okay? I always get nervous with engagements when people like chime in and go, I don't understand this, or why don't we do it this way, or how, and I always don't feel prepared to, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh. So I'm going to go into our Q&A no more than 10 total minutes, okay? So we'll have a 20-minute Q&A instead of a 30-minute. I've never told that. 30, 34, 35. You guys have about 2 or 3 more minutes. 2 or 3 more minutes.
I've gotten To me, the map is the absolute most useless thing because we don't know where we are, so how do we know where to go?
Possibly something to repair what caused the leak in the first place. I mean, obviously the ship's sinking. If there's something we can do to melt the water bottles down to fill that hole. I mean, there's things you can do to do.
Oh my God, look at you taking pictures. You're walking around like a proud dad right now.
Hey, listen, I think this thing is going to change people's lives.
Well, from the testimonies I'm getting, that's what I'm hearing.
I love you. 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
So Dave, he's all curled up in a corner back there. Poor guy. I think he's tired. I won't make it in the video, but it's funny.
So you listening kind of, I know you're not in the class, but you're overhearing it. What do you think so far of the material? And
I think it's phenomenal.
I don't think there's a lot of places like this. It's
No.
not like you can be like, there's 10 options and this is one of them. It's kind of unique, I think.
I'm bummed that I missed a lot of last week, like the whole thing with the posters. Like,
Yeah.
that was really intriguing. And that's kind of like, you know, this week with the whole class thing that I'm trying to do is
1 minute. 60 seconds. 60 seconds. There's a clock back there.
oh, okay.
It's a digital clock.
Okay, I was like, that was not a whole minute. But yeah, no, I'm trying to show what kind of engagement this is.
Yep.
We're supposed to now build a group list? Is that our next step? Or just,
Oh,
Nope.
okay.
Oh, okay.
We're getting ahead. Never mind.
And if you are, when you're done, you can go back. We've got 31 seconds.
Okay.
15 seconds. If you can start making your way back to your seats. 10 seconds, 10 seconds. 5 seconds. If you can make your way back, make your way back. All right. So we're going to get started again. I need your help. 1, 2, 3. Shh. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Shh. It's brilliant. Okay, so who thought that was kind of interesting? And did you hear any other really good things that you didn't think of? Did that happen? You'll notice on the bottom of that page, I want you to take a moment. You'll see a question that says, other than you. There is no question in my mind that you are influential. There's no question in my mind that lots of other people are going to put your name down. However, other than you, who on your crew was the most influential over you? Just you. And I want to know why. So there's a section right there. I want you to actually put the person's name, not the persons, the one person on your crew when they were talking. Maybe they didn't convince you, but they were the most influential with their arguments, with their items, with their rationale as to why that's how we need to get out of this situation. I'd love for you to just write down the person's name that was the most influential, and then why. So if you'll take just a few seconds, it shouldn't be that challenging for you to think about it. You were just in that moment. Somebody was just telling you some items and you said, holy crap, that's a good idea. And perhaps they didn't convince you, but they still influenced you slightly. Does that make sense? Yes. Awesome. We're going to have a few moments for folks to yell some things out, so that's coming here in just a second. But I want you to fill out that section. Now, while you're finishing up writing down the person's name that you felt was the most influential in your crew, other than putting your own name down, and you'll notice I'm staring at certain people when I say that. Do not put your name down. Now, the next question, the last question is, other than you, who had the greatest influence over the majority of the crew? So now, maybe you were sitting there listening to someone else's argument and you thought, everyone's nodding their head with that person. maybe you were the only one that didn't agree. So they were not influential to you. Do you understand what I'm saying? Maybe they were not influential to you, but for the love of God, everyone else thought that person was brilliant. And I want to know, and it could be the same name, but I want to know now, who do you think was the most influential over the whole crew when you were kind of watching them talk and everyone else was going, brilliant. That's the best idea ever. Who was the most influential over the whole dynamic of your crew? Does that make sense? Yeah? Take just a moment to write that name down, and if you could, write down a why. For those of you that don't know, there are people in the back of the room going, did you put my name down? You better put my name down. Remember, we said that you don't influence by telling. You don't tell people what to do to influence them. Just a few more seconds on that. Do you guys feel like you have those names filled out? Yes. You feel like you have those whys? Yes. So here's what I would like to do. We are going to take 4 minutes, and then this engagement is over. Remember, we're not done until 12:30, and we are going to be done at 12:30 on time today. But I want to know just a few people that might feel comfortable enough. Bless you there, Ty. God bless you. I want to know just a few people that might feel comfortable enough to help me answer those questions at the bottom and tell everybody who you thought was the most influential. Now, you might irritate the other 3 or 4 people when you don't say their name. Hey, that's part of being an influencer. Part of having influence, holding influence, growing influence, keeping influence is being able to be strong enough, passionate enough, and self-aware enough to make those kind of statements out loud. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Okay, wonderful. It is not influential when you look at somebody and you go, gosh, you're the best. And then you tell the next person, you know what, you are the best. You're just the absolute best. There's nothing influential about, I just love what you do. I can't stand that guy, you know what I mean? There's nothing influential. Let your yeses be yes, let your no's be no. Does that make sense? Yes? I'm only going to let 2 or 3 people because our Q&A is going to be very engaging. So we're going to spill right into another really wonderful interactive moment. But if 2 or 3 people would throw their hands up, I would love. Courtney, I saw the first hand. Courtney, which one are you going to answer for us?
The first one.
The first one.
Definitely Sloan.
Definitely, she said Sloan. There's no doubt. Round of applause for Sloan, by the way. Would you tell us why on your crew that guy was so influential over you?
Because he had a very organized list. He thought he was more of a technician. So things like having a generator that I was like water, food. He was very technical. So it was just outside the box, and clearly had way more experience either on a yacht or fixing things than I do.
Okay. So one's experience, one's expertise, and perhaps in this particular situation, you may say, you know what, my weakness is kind of in this area, but it seemed to be his strength. Amazing how that turns into a super influential moment. Attaboy. Love it. Does anybody else want to give me, I saw a few more hands. Seth, give me one name. Are you answering the first question or the second one? First question. This is the person. Everybody, let's give Seth who was the person that influenced you the most? Ty. How about, whoa, round of applause for Ty. We did it for Sloan. I love it. Ty, tell me why, Ty. Why Ty? I like that. I'm going to keep saying it.
Yeah.
Or tell me why, Seth. I apologize.
Well, in the ocean, hydration is critical.
Uh-huh.
I had bottled water as the first most important thing. Ty discovered a desalination kit on the ship.
Oh, he did. And for those of us that may not know, that takes water that isn't good to be able to drink, and it purifies it so we can drink it, yeah? So now the whole ocean is now a huge case of water. Is that what it is? I love it. Hey, way to go. What caused you to be able to have that in your mind, and he didn't have it on his list?
With camping and scouts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? Been there, done that. Been there, done that, strikes again, right? Expertise. I know what works. And being able to convey it, did he convey it in a way that was trustworthy? If it wasn't trustworthy, it wouldn't have mattered how much experience he's got. He wouldn't have influenced you one bit. Last person, only one more person. I'd love for you to answer the first one or second one. Sunil.
So I'm going to answer the second one.
Ooh, the second one. Okay.
Other than you, who had the greatest influence over the majority of the crew and why? I'm going to say Matt.
Ooh.
Because his first item was our lives.
Oh, my goodness.
We were alive and could help each other.
Wow.
And that's what made the list.
So, yeah, big round of applause for Matt. So you know that movie You Had Me at Hello? So Matt had you at that very first sentence. You were alive and that you mattered. How incredible. In this case, it wasn't necessarily expertise. With the very first sentence, he captured everyone's attention. He owned that influence. Could anyone take it away from him? Boy, how do you beat that? He said, all of you matter, I love you, and you're alive. Beat that. Guys, did you enjoy that engagement activity? Do you see the value in being an influencer? I love it.